So here we are, day 2. I've got probably 6 or 7 hours into this so far. I'm not sure because I took breaks off and on. And by far, the longest amount of time it takes is picking your glass colors, especially with something that has so many different colors like this one. This window has. I've probably spent 4 of those hours just picking glass. And as you can see, I've got most everything glued on now onto all my colors. And I just want to talk a little bit about that. I strongly recommend, to save yourself sanity, this method. If you've never tried this method, again, it's using freezer paper and glue stick. And you literally glue your pattern pieces onto your glass and use that as your template to cut around, to grind around, and then once you're satisfied that your piece is cut exactly the same as what your pattern piece is, that's when I clean it, remove it, and then put it onto my layout paper pattern. You'll notice on these that I leave plenty of space. I try to leave at least 1/4 of an inch of space between each piece if possible. It's just so much easier to break when I do it that way. And I also, my first thing when I go to cut these, and I'll do a video on how I cut, is I want to separate all the pieces first. So this one I'm going to cut straight across here, my first cut, so that I can save the rest of this glass for another project. And then I can cut them individually and cut them apart. So you'll see I've done that with all of them. Now I could have lined them all up nice and neat and everything like that. I didn't. Sometimes I will take advantage of a pattern on the glass. This is a good example of this. This is my shovel that is in the corner here. My little digging spade. I don't know if you can see it right there. Let's see if I can find it on my... Okay, here's my handle and my spade. Right there. And I was going to use a brown, which looked like kind of a wood color. It's hard to pick up in here. But then I decided I was going to use brown pots. So I need to change this color out. Now I've got these glued down, but the way I glue them, it's fairly easy to pull these up and re-glue them onto something else. So I've got another color laying out there just to separate it. I had mentioned sometimes I use the pattern of the glass, and this is an example of that for my spade. Now you'll notice I didn't line up my lines on my spade according to the pattern on the glass, because if you look on the back side, it's pretty cool. It just happens to have the shape of my spade right there in the white. You see that? So I'm going to just go ahead and take advantage of the natural glass color there and sacrifice more of this glass. You'll also notice when I put my pattern piece in, I did use my pattern shears, my trusty pattern shears here. But when I glued it onto the glass, I just left enough so that my cutter wheel can get in between these, because these are going to be foiled and put right back together again, so why not use that natural line right there? So you don't always have to have them 1/4 inch apart. Other thing that I did on some of my leaves, I wanted to use the back side. I want this side, or the rough side, to be the front of my panel. And so what I did is I duplicated the numbers, the pattern numbers and the grain, and I glued it upside down. So I actually have the waxy side facing up and the paper side of my pattern, so that when I cut this out and I lay it down, I'm going to get the texture side up. Sometimes it's hard to see through your pattern, so if you use a Sharpie marker to help with the grain direction. And again, my pattern is glued upside down. This is the waxy side instead of the paper side, like normal. so that I can get the texture side showing in the front of my window. What else? Something to have in hand. I have a razor, and I don't know what happened to my nifty little handle thing that goes on this. If you go to O'Reilly's, they have these really cool razor blade knife handles. For some reason, mine have disappeared. They're probably out in the workshop, the wood shop. I don't know. But you want to have one of these handy in case you need to remove labels. You don't want to work around labels, even if it's on the back side, because if you lay that label on and you're trying to score through here, it's not going to break right. So just get rid of that label. You can save it if you want to, because they peel off pretty darn easy. And then last but not least, let's talk glue sticks. I am a connoisseur of glue sticks. I have tried every single brand, every single kind of glue stick on the market, and I tell you what, this is the one you want to use. This is from Staples. I buy them in a big box. Do I have my box? No. But I buy them in like a box of 12. And this is the best glue stick. It holds, but it comes off easy when you're ready to clean off your glass. So trust me, the worst one is the Elmer's glue stick from like Dollar General or whatever, Walmart. It doesn't work. Don't even try it. Don't waste your money. For some reason, and trust me, like I said, I've tried every single one of them. This is the glue stick you want to use. So when I am gluing down stuff, the first thing I'm going to do, and when I brought my pattern paper over here, I kind of messed up all of my pieces. Let me get these rearranged back here again. I lay it out, again, trying to get the most efficient use of glass without making it difficult to cut. I don't know, I had these laid out. But when I use my glue stick, I'll take my piece, I'll dab each end, and then just a few in the middle. You don't want to cover the whole thing, and you also don't want to have a big glob of glue like that, because that's just going to be a glubby, nasty mess when you go to try to wash it off. You'll notice that you can't hardly even see it on my pattern, but get any points that there are there that might want to come loose as it's getting wet. And then just a couple along the center. That's all you need. And then just lay it on your glass. There we go. It'll allow you to slide it. Okay. So I get that glob off my finger. 1, 2, maybe 3 there. The less you can use, the better. But still have it hold down. Now see this tab here, this corner is sticking up a little bit. I'll just add a little dab, because the ends and the corners is what's going to want to lift off when you're cutting and grinding when it's getting wet. So again, not much at all. Can you even see it? Glue it down. You can see I've been gluing all day today. Got glue on my fingers. That's the worst part. That's the hardest part, of getting the glue off your fingers when you're done. Dab, dab, dab. Yeah, right. I also notice that when I'm gluing, I'm going from one piece, so as I make my cut with my cutting iron here, or my cutter, I can just make it one straight score through there and then cut it. This one, what I would do, I'd probably score this first, then I'd come back and I'd score this, and if I line this up just right, I can make that gentle curve right there. So again, I can just make this gentle curve up and break those two apart. So it's always my goal when I'm laying out glass to make sure I can cut things through as much of a straight line as possible. Glass wants to break in a straight line, so take advantage of that. Something like that will work. I generally try to line everything up before I start gluing, in case I find a gap that I can take advantage of. And again, try to leave a 1/4 of an inch or so between each one. I don't want to cram them in there so tight. Like I could probably put that one in there, but it's going to be really tough to cut, and I'm going to end up grinding more, and it's just not worth it. I value my fingers too much, so I'd rather sacrifice a 1/4 of an inch of glass than have to grind with my fingers for a half hour. Not going to happen. And let's see, one more. Just better safe than sorry. Okay, and again, I can save all this glass for another project. All right, I've got 95% of, just found a piece, 161. Right there, that's brown. Okay, that goes there. I've got 90%. I'm going to go ahead and glue up everything so that I don't have to try to wash my hands 50 different times. And let's see, I've got my background and I've got my middle of my pots to glue, and then I'm ready to start cutting. So I'll see you here on the flip side with cutting tips after this.